Hello, my name is Dennis H., and I was an alcoholic for 25 years. Now, I'm going to discuss what I went through, what I've come up with, my observations, my experiences. And I'm not telling anybody what they should do. I'm not telling anyone how they should take responsibility for their own personal health and well-being. I'm telling you my experiences and what worked for me. So, I'm going to give you my critique of the 12-step version of recovery, and also my version of a plan for sobriety called Alcoholism for Dummies, which has kept me sober since 2011, St. Patty's Day. And yes, I'm not drinking right now. I sometimes slip on my words, but not on my drinks. All right, my plan. Number 1, refuse to use. I never drink. Number 1. Number 2, when thinking of drinking, refer to number 1, which is refuse to use. I never drink. And 3, redo you, and that's spiritually, socially, emotionally, and physically. So number 1, refuse to use, I never drink. Number 2, when thinking of drinking, refer back to number 1. And number 3, redo you, and that's spiritually, mentally, physically, and socially. I am trying to develop a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. This is actually a core statement in the Alcoholics Anonymous Creed. For me to come to grips with this, I feel I have to define these 2 words. Rigorous, rigid, exact, precise. Honesty, integrity, straightforwardness, truthfulness. I think most would be okay with these definitions. If I am to maintain sobriety, I owe it to myself, just as the AA founders, Bill W. and Dr. Bob, did almost a century ago, to explore every avenue available in order to arrest this condition I have, or I will surely die. I have no quarrel with the idea that honesty with self is a mandate to overcome the alcoholic self-sadistic state I have found myself in for almost 20 years. It's closer to 25 now. When I wrote this, that's where I was. The framers of the Constitution of Alcoholics Anonymous were ingenious enough to know that there is a difference between that which they did and did not know. From the serenity prayer, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Page 164 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. The end of the foreword to the 4th edition of Alcoholics Anonymous recognizes progress. While our literature has preserved the integrity of the AA message, sweeping changes in society as a whole are reflected in new customs and practices within the fellowship. Taking advantage of technological advances, for example, AA members with computers can participate in meetings online. Certainly that wasn't happening in 1940, okay? Now, I will discuss at some length a few of my concerns: institutionalism, program of attraction, free will, addictive voice, the disease concept of alcoholism, science versus religion, and rigorous honesty. The 6th of the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous reminds us that, quote, the problems of money, property, and authority may easily divert us from our primary spiritual aim. Secondary aids to AA, such as clubs or hospitals, which require much property or administration, ought to be incorporated and so set apart that, if necessary, they can be freely discarded by the groups. Hence, such facilities ought not to use the AA name. Such cooperation ought never go so far as affiliation or endorsement, actual or implied, quote. Anyone who has been to a 12-step hospital would be hard-pressed to convince someone else that there isn't an implied affiliation or endorsement. Framed posters of the 12 steps and the 12 traditions are on many of the passages in counseling rooms. At the bottom of the posters, reprinted with the permission of Alcoholics Anonymous. This brings me to my next point, program of attraction. Alcoholics Anonymous, Tradition 11. Our relations with the general public should be characterized by personal anonymity. Our public relations should be guided by the principle of attraction rather than promotion. Quote, I believe that sincerely was the point in 1930s America. Some 40 plus years later, judges and employers started to contribute to a new program of coercion. Many a kicking and screaming soul has been dragged into an AA meeting as an order or a slightly more appealing choice than prison. Initially, a good argument can be made that these folks don't have a desire to stop drinking. This is not operating in concert with the original intent of Alcoholics Anonymous. This may explain the 1 out of 34 success rate of 12-step programs. Where did I get this? I wrote this down. This was in 2003, and this is from a counselor who I liked, Derry Burden, Charter Peachford, 2003. So if AA was a stock with a 1 out of 34 success rate, no, if AA was a stock, nobody would invest. Charter Peachford, this is a hospital I attended several times, 12-step hospital. Charter Peachford, just north of Atlanta, Georgia, is an AA hospital, though through its own admission and decoration. Frequently, they lectured my group and me on free will. I have decisions to make daily. Skip the line. Frequently, they lectured my group and me on free will. According to them, our society, legal, judicial, and otherwise, was founded on free will. I have decisions to make daily, and I am held completely responsible for the choices I make. I do not stop at the red light or continue. Do I stop at the liquor store or continue? I have never had any alcoholic beverage delivered to my house after ordering Chinese food. I am not powerless over the choice to drink alcohol. I am powerless over controlling the consequences if I choose to partake. I have free will to take that first drink or choose to not take that first drink. If I become more in tune with my addictive voice or the subtle whispers of my disease, I will more likely be able to make the correct choice. My addictive voice tells me that it is okay to go to the pub just for lunch, to catch up with old friends. My addictive voice whispers to me that after a sandwich, a bit of whiskey in my milk is okay. Nothing more. Okay, that's a story out of AA. That was never one of my things. My addictive voice tells me that I deserve a drink, just one, to toast a wedding, a funeral, a bad day, a good day. This is predictable because I have a disease. Or do I? There may be as many types of alcoholics as there are numbers of people in treatment. I am a Pisces. I'm a vegetarian. Wow, I'm a male, I am white, I am whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was a binge drinker. I would go on benders and quit. I was never a daily drinker. I always had resolve. I quit drinking entirely for 14 months with no help, no treatment, no AA, and I started again. Some may have the gene, some may have the environment, some may have consumed too many and crossed over into the abyss. Fine, I can't drink. Like exposure to asbestos over time leads to mesothelioma, exposure to alcohol has led me to my alcoholism. I'm okay with that. Is it a disease? I have to caution myself. As for me, it is not a disease in the traditional sense of the word. I don't need supplements. I don't need shots. Pardon me, I couldn't resist. Whatever defects of character or genetic defects I may or may not have, the school of religion and the school of science would both agree that I can't drink. Religion, faith, philosophy, basically answers origin, purpose, and destiny questions. Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going when I leave the planet? What is my purpose? How do I fit in? Am I comfortable? Very few people I have observed are comfortable if they don't have a workable understanding of these concepts, satisfactory to their lifestyle. If they are uncomfortable or out of balance, then they are sick, just as the body is sick if it is out of balance. Too many white cells, too many bad cells, too much of this, not enough of that, etc. Science, among other things, likes to collect data. Hard stuff. Again, pardon me. Perform experiments, analyze and measure, and therefore predict and control. Bill W. may have been a bit more on the religious or spiritual side, and Dr. Bob, well, as a doctor, well, you know where I'm going here. Fitting argument can be made that the two founders of AA would each fall into a unique, albeit slight, natural bias. Religion versus science. How much science, if perceivable, is unimportant in their journey. Their honest desire to arrest the alcoholism in themselves is infinitely important. Okay, what is rigorous honesty? Rigorous, rigid, exact, precise. Honesty, integrity, straightforwardness, truthfulness. Without much reservation, I can state that while the world was much different in the 20s, 100 years ago now, lack of television, telephones were in their infancy, the term rigorous honesty was as easily understood then as it is today. I won't go too far with this except to say that in the vernacular, they obviously weren't applying the strict definition of rigorous honesty to the following: employee-employer relationships, sales transactions, male-female relationships, especially sexual. I have never had an employer be completely forthright with me during a job interview. I have never known a peer of mine to tell the truth about why they took a sick day. Oftentimes it was to interview with a competitor. In business, the first thing a prospective sales agent is taught is that buyers are liars. If one ignores this, that person had better hit the highway and look for a 40-hour-a-week gig working a lathe or at a drive-in window or something. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. Wow, where have we heard that one? Find me a man who has been rigorously honest with his wife, girlfriend, or mother, especially with regard to sexual situations, and I will find you a celibate man who enjoys the comfort of his sofa. We don't have permission to be honest. We all laughed at the movie Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. Maybe we shouldn't have. 1. Refuse to use. I never drink. 2. When thinking of drinking, refer to 1. 3. Redo you, spiritually, socially, emotionally, physically. I think I have put together a program for sobriety, Alcoholism for Dummies. That's what worked for me. Thanks for listening.